Yeah, so Nipsey Hussle, his final album is being released as 1,000 exclusive streaming NFTs. I found this interesting because one of his first ever mixtapes, Crenshaw, back in 2013, he did 1,000 copies of that at $100 a piece. And so now he's doing his final album as an NFT. The release did get pushed back. It was supposed to be this week on the 6th. Right. But more so just like conceptually, how do you think about this? Like, especially for an artist like this, it's his last album. Obviously, he's tragically passed away.
Right.
Instead of giving this music freely away to everybody, he's trying to kind of reward those 1,000 true fans. Mm-hmm. What are your, I guess, give me your overview and thoughts on this kind of a project?
I mean, another legendary another legendary rapper here. If he didn't tragically pass away, he probably would have been at the level of Nas. I mean, like, he was like on the path of being like one of the greatest of all time. So it's really tragic that we don't have him around anymore. I think this is going to do really well because fans and the community, like the industry, really loves Nipsey Hussle. And I've heard stories that he's just was a really good dude, good person. So this is interesting that, yeah, it's not going out to the masses, right? It is going just exclusively to the 1,000 people that own it. I'm more into the business side of it, but like there's a company called RAIRTECH. That's the platform behind it. I couldn't find too much info on RAIRTECH. Maybe I'll do more of a deep dive episode after I read their white paper. But it's also a digital rights management platform. So I'm curious to see what the incentives are. I know you dove a little more into this article than I did. Did they talk about any incentives for the people that buy these NFTs?
So there's a couple things that I saw. One is this is actually RAIRTECH's first launch. Will be this.
Wow, this is a big launch.
So it's a big launch for them. Obviously, they want it to go well. They're in the kind of the NFT. What's wrapped into it is the title track, Blue Laces 3, 7 additional unreleased tracks, a documentary, behind the scenes footage, and then obviously an exclusive community, like everybody, right? A Discord. It's not a Web3 project if it doesn't have a Discord. But that's kind of at least what they're promoting here. It doesn't look like there's royalties associated. Well, because it's not on streaming platforms, right? It's like your exclusive right to stream this. Here's what I found really cool, and I've loved this. I've seen this in an info product launch that did really, really well in the NFT space. The NFTs first, they're releasing 1,000 NFTs. The first 50 are for friends and collaborators of Nipsey. So like Snoop Dogg and like people like that, right? So 50 for like, friends of Nipsey. Then they're doing the first pressing, 51 through 250 are going to be 1 ETH. And this is what's going to create, I think, a lot of, I think this is, well, it's super obviously expensive, right? But 1 ETH for the first 200. Then you're going to the next tier, which is going to be 2 ETH, which is 251 to 500. And then 501 to 999 or 1,000 is going to be 3 Ether. So super expensive. But what this is going to do is it's going to drive the initial sales super high, right? And now imagine you're buying it for 1 ETH. You should be able to flip it, right? And if you pick up 2 for 1 ETH, if you sell one of them, in theory, you should be able to make your money back and be profitable and still hold on to one of your NFTs. So there's definitely some incentive here to get in early and have one of those early number NFTs. I think that's going to be really, really powerful. And again, it's like that FOMO that drives it. Like you want to get it for 1. And then if you don't get it for 1, you're like, well, shoot, then I got to jump in. I got to get it for 2. And if you miss it for 2, and I think it creates that. Now, I will say that I do believe that, $11,000 for exclusive streaming rights to an album of songs I've never heard before, potentially posthumous stuff. That sounds a little crazy to me, but this guy did transcend a lot in this kind of the youth culture and a lot of what's happening out West right now. So it's possible, but that just sounds, it's pretty steep. So
that is steep.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
An ETH? An ETH is probably like $3 grand right now, right?
Luckily, it's taken a dive in the last like 24 hours.
Buy the dip.
buy the dip. But yeah, I mean, at the writing of this, 1 ETH was $3,700. 2 ETH would be $7,500, and 3 ETH would be $11,200. And again, obviously, the prices are going to fluctuate just depending on the price of ETH at the time. But you're looking at 3,500 to 4 grand at the lowest tier. Even that is pretty steep
That's
without
very steep.
access, without like some other level of utility other than just I get to be one of 1,000 people with streaming rights to this album. So I don't know. What do you think about when you hear some of that stuff?
So with an artist like Nipsey, I mean, unless there's another library of music sitting around anywhere, I mean, this is going to be the last music that's ever going to be released. And yeah, what is this music? Is this music that he was planning to release? Is this music like, are these songs that didn't make the albums? Like what's the quality of this going to be? I mean, I'd like to believe that since it's Nipsey, it's going to be a little bit higher quality and it's probably be really good songs. What I think about with this is the Wu-Tang album. I forget the name of it, but the one where they only made one copy of it, and it sold for like millions of dollars. So it's kind of something like that, where instead of like one person owning it, you have 1,000, so it is a little bit more. But instead of like one person paying millions, you have 1,000 people paying a few grand each for this. So I think it's going to sell. I think it's going to sell real fast because it's Nipsey and because of how many people support him. I think there's probably going to be a mix of investors, music industry people, and people just in the hip hop community that are probably going to buy this. Like I'm already envisioning the article like Dr. Dre flips. I don't know, but I think it's going to sell. But yeah, there's not much other incentive behind it besides owning it. But I think it's as with anything, like the market decides what the value of something is. Like if I give you $1 for an apple, you and I have agreed that apple is worth $1. But if I only want to pay a penny for it, then it's only worth a penny. So it's really what the market decides it's worth. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this one does. I don't know too much like what to expect because there's no other perks, no other benefits. I'm kind of curious about RAIRTECH, since it is a digital rights management organization. I wonder if there is going to be some kind of incentive, kind of like Royal eventually, where fans can get a piece of the streaming.
Yeah, I think I hope this does well. I hope this sells out.
Yeah.
I hope that there's some hype around it. The only thing I think that this does is it kind of the average everyday fan is just it's way out of their reach, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just I think that's one of the only sad things about some of this exclusivity type stuff is that the casual hip hop fan that would definitely stream this on like a Spotify, they don't have a chance, because they're probably not up to the tech, but they're definitely not spending $4,000 to $12,000 to hear an album. I think that's just out of reach, but I do think for the collectors in this space, the hip hop heads, like this is a really, really cool piece of history to kind of own. So I dig that.
Live the life you love.